Whether one is strong or not is a matter of time, and whether one is handsome or not is a matter of a lifetime. The traveler named Bega Punk touched his big head and made up his mind to change his body and image first, and then talk about other things. However, when the soul is transferred, there seems to be a small problem. People are fine, how did the world change? Okay, it seems that before returning to the world of pirates, I need to be responsible for unifying the world of ninjas and developing a world shuttle. Keywords of the novel. Bega Punk creating Ninja World Technology with no pop-ups, Bega Punk creating Ninja World Technology TXT Complete Collection Download, Bega Punk creating Ninja World Technology Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. What happened? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. What happened, boss? Your incident has happened. On the electronic screen, resembling a tablet, a beautiful girl with golden curly hair and fashionable attire appeared. The girl's face was filled with a hint of anxiety and concern, and she urgently whispered. Ah. Is it Study? A man with messy hair and something resembling a metal antenna on his head, who can be identified as a crazy scientist just by his appearance, looked at the beautiful woman on the screen and hesitated for a moment before finally speaking. What happened? What happened? Don't pretend to be silly, the fleets of the Navy and the world government have already set off. The leader of this fleet is General Red Dog. What do you think will happen, Boss Bega Punk? Study gritted his teeth and yelled at his unreliable boss. Even if you say that, there are too many things I do that will provoke the world government. Bega Punk helplessly spread out his hand and explained. For example, the continental shelf shaker that has not yet been installed under the Red Soil continent, deals with Charlotte Lingling, Kaido, and the Revolutionary Army, the development and installation of new space-based and nuclear weapons, the cloning of the Sea King and the research replication of the Underworld King, the gene virus specially designed for the Tianlong people, as well as the cloned Tianlong people who were secretly replaced by me. I have to know exactly what happened. Was it discovered by the world government? Stussy, why is your expression so strange? It took a lot of effort for Stuosi to calm down the beauty performance in the pirate world, restoring her protruding eyes and wide mouth. Then, she looked left and right twice, lowered her head, and said stealthily. Boss, to be honest with me, are you ready to take down the world government directly? Didn't you say there are still 10 years left in the plan? The plan has not changed, after all, you are also too useless, and until now, you have not figured out the bottom line of the world government. However, the various preparations made in advance are not too many at any time. Big brain scientist Bega Punk said slowly, everyone is engaged in a killing business, and I have to consider my ability to protect myself in case the world government finds out about the news. I don't think it's a matter of self-protection ability anymore, boss. Are you trying to destroy the world? Also, since I've only been with the CP organization for 2 years, how could I quickly learn about the world government's bottom card? Stussy couldn't help but mutter roast. Does his boss have a phobia of lack of firepower? As the earliest clone created by Bega Punk, both her intelligence and physique were modulated to a very high level, so she also worked as an assistant by Bega Punk's side at the beginning. So she also has a clear understanding of the power of the weapons in her boss's mouth. Ancient weapons and so on are just scumbags in front of the weapons developed by her boss. It's not because ancient weapons were weak in power, but because the pure weapons produced by Bega Punk were mass-produced, completely different from those unique ancient weapons. Bega Punk shrugged and said, there's nothing I can do. I seem to have a lot of talent in this area, but just by studying it casually, I've achieved a lot of results. But just relying on this to intimidate the world government, there is still a lack of the most important thing. After all, I am just a powerless scientist. No matter how advanced my weapons are, I am still just a physical child. If any naval general comes, there is a risk of being killed. The traveler named Bega Punk looked at his somewhat emaciated and aged palm with a somewhat sighing expression. This Bega Punk is a time traveler. In his previous life, he had just graduated from college on Blue Star, and then his soul traveled directly to the world of pirates, becoming the most famous scientist in the world of pirates. Bega Punk himself is the most talented scientist in the world of pirates, and with the bonus of his ability to traverse, he has created various black technology weapons that are unparalleled compared to the original work. After all, although there were not many black technologies in the world of pirates in the previous life, they were definitely far superior in various technological theories. The recently graduated adventurer was at the pinnacle of personal knowledge and ability, and the combination of the two led to a new round of technological explosion. Many times, the most needed direction for scientific research is only one direction. Just like before the Manhattan Project, no one could develop mushroom eggs, but when the plan was successful and proved that this direction was feasible, in a short period of time, countries with some background would develop nuclear weapons. He doesn't have the moral cleanliness of the original Bega Punk, who doesn't want to study weapons, and his personality is much smarter and more cunning than that simple scientist. He joined the world government early on and obtained a large amount of resources. In terms of technological research, he has far exceeded several eras in this world. Of course, he will definitely not expose all of his research results to the world government like the original version of Bega Punk did. In fact, his achievements to the world government may not be as good as the original version of Bega Punk. On the contrary, it is the infiltration of the world government that has not been relaxed at all. Otherwise, there would not have been a plan to clone the Tianlongren, and Stuxy would not have been in such a high position in such a short period of time, reporting directly to him. Unfortunately, although the brain fruit has given Bega Punk unparalleled wisdom, it has also limited his body. A large amount of nutrients are absorbed by the brain, causing Bega Punk to exercise no matter how much, at most, to make his body healthier than ordinary people. The gap between him and the monsters in the world of pirates is too big. Fortunately, this is already the end. The technology has matured, and we can finally get rid of this old and fragile body. Having restrained his thoughts for a moment, Bega Punk looked at Study and said, "By the way, you haven't told me yet what the world government has discovered. You need to focus on what you're talking about." Study's forehead showed veins. What does it mean to say the key point? If it weren't for being shocked by so many black cards from you, would I interrupt you? Taking a deep breath, Study suppressed his anger and said, "Your experimental assistant has been discovered by the world government." Experimental assistant. Bega Punk pondered for a moment, and a woman with long black hair and a calm and aloof personality appeared in his mind. Nicole Robin. She was discovered, and just because of this small matter, the world government came to her door. This is not a small matter. All right. Compared to your dangerous inventions and plans, boss, she can be considered a small matter. Study said helplessly, but after learning about his boss's many cards, he became less nervous. It's a big deal to break down the whole world. Let's see if it's me who's barefoot, or if it's the world government who wears shoes and is even more bachelor. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Rescued Hancock. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The Rescued Hancock. Study let go of his worries, and Bega Punk touched his chin, but he had more thoughts. This seems to be a great opportunity. With the help of the world government, my power has developed enough. Next, I will use feigning death to escape and infiltrate the shadows, and then I can turn over and reappear. At that time, I will also make up for my biggest weakness and become a true powerhouse. Upon hearing these words, Study's face on the screen looked a bit strange, as if he had thought of something. At this moment, another slightly chilly female voice rang out beside Bega Punk. Fake death to escape, change your appearance. Become a true powerhouse. Boss, you should just be doing plastic surgery. Bega Punk's body stiffened slightly and he turned his head bit by bit. Behind him stood two girls in their 20s, one of whom had long black hair, a mature and intellectual temperament, and a beautiful woman dressed in neat denim. She wore a strange smile at the corners of her mouth and was looking up and down at Bega Punk. Ha! Ha! How could it be for plastic surgery? It's not for cosmetic surgery. Why did you give up the strongest body plan developed by Keto and Charlotte Lingling's genes, and instead choose the genes of Whitehorse Cavendish? The corners of the intellectual beauty's mouth revealed a devilish smile, with a lively expression. However, what she said made it impossible for Bega Punk to refute. Having defected to the world government and secretly traded with the Fourth Emperor and the Revolutionary Army, Bega Punk never lacked various research materials and experimental materials in his hands, even the cell tissue materials of Charlotte Lingling and Cato. Bega Punk also had a lot in his hands. These two people are almost the ceiling of talent in the world of pirates, especially Charlotte Lingling. Despite giving birth to several football teams and indulging in binge eating every day, she can still firmly hold the position of the Fourth Emperor. Her talent is almost as strong as that of a monkey with a genetic mutation into a gorilla. If it were purely for the pursuit of strength, these two people's genes can be said to be the best material. However, both of these individuals can be described as having a giant-like physique. Even with Bega Punk's technological means, it is impossible to compress and transform the clones. For the sake of convenience, Bega Punk ultimately chose Cavendish's genes as the main body. This is actually an excuse, but more importantly, it is because Cavendish is handsome. The brain fruit is indeed one of the top demon fruits in the world of pirates, but under the powerful bonus of intelligence, the reduction of physique and charm is also immediate. No matter how handsome or beautiful, with a head several times larger than the body, it will definitely not give people the impression of being handsome and beautiful, only make people doubt whether they have encountered aliens. Not to mention that Bega Punk himself is not a handsome guy. Back then, because of his big head, he was often looked at by others with strange eyes. Later on, he was willing to take the huge risk of cutting and separating his big head like the original Bega Punk, and create a nearly quantum computer-like assistive thinking clone, which was also related to these gazes. After waving his hands twice, Bega Punk finally shrugged helplessly and said, "Okay, I admit it. Being strong or not is a version of the story, and being handsome or not is a lifelong thing. I hope I look handsome. Do you think there's anything wrong with that?" Robin. Of course not. But no matter what Lord Punk looks like, I love him the most. A crisp female voice sounded, not Robin, who had a dark personality, but another girl standing beside Robin, with a stunning appearance and a hot figure. At the same time as the words fell, the girl also rushed forward and hugged Bega Punk tightly. Lighter. Lighter. Bones are about to break. Hancock, let go. Bega Punk felt a suffocation, his face enveloped in two plump lumps, but unfortunately he had no desire for any peach color. Like a walnut clamped in a pair of pliers, Bega Punk felt the bones in the shoulders, ribs, spine, and other areas being held, all beginning to click. I'm sorry, Lord Punk. I didn't control myself again. The stunning girl hurriedly released her hand in a panic, and Bega Punk finally breathed a sigh of relief, but still felt pain all over his body, causing him to grin in pain. Damn it, we must transfer our physical body as soon as possible, otherwise how can we live these days? The giant brain has taken away almost 99% of the nutrients from this body, whether it is Bega Punk's own exercise or its advanced biotechnology modification, it has little effect on this physical body. On the contrary, the young girl Hancock in front of her, due to her excellent talent, has received the dividends of most of the biological transformation of Bega Punk. Her physical strength can almost be compared to a small Charlotte Lingling. Thinking of 5-year-old Charlotte Lingling, even a mosquito swat can break a giant's bones. Bega Punk felt very relieved that she had not suffered any serious injuries to this day. Although Hancock may not be as strong as the current Charlotte Lingling even after being strengthened, she is much stronger than the 6-year-old Charlotte Lingling, and Bega Punk's physique is far from comparable to giants. Hank was saved by Bega Punk from the Tianlong people. As the top scientist of the world government, it is not difficult to get several slaves from the Tianlong people, but the three sisters of Hancock belonged to the kind of slaves with high value, and Bega Punk also paid a little price. Well, that's to say, he created a few appearance giant dragons and gave them to those idiotic dragon people. At the same time, he also took this opportunity to secretly extract some blood from the dragon people using a small robot. At the beginning, Hank was still very resistant to Bega Punk, the lifesaver. Although Bega Punk helped her out of the sea of suffering, the three sisters of Hancock, who were slaves at that time, would not trust anyone related to the Tianlong people. Until Bega Punk produced the clone of the Tianlong man, secretly ventured to replace the Tianlong man and handed it to Hancock. After that, the three sisters of Hancock became his loyal followers. In fact, that operation was quite risky. The Tianlong people themselves had identity chips to identify their identities. If it weren't for Bega Punk's tampering with the giant dragon he had made, he would have been monitoring the Tianlong people and wouldn't have discovered the location of his identity chip, completing that day's stealing operation. After two more such actions, Bega Punk dared not take any more risks. The Tianlong people had a large number of bodyguards and identity chips by their side. On the third attempt, Bega Punk almost capsized. Of course, the benefits gained from this adventure are also significant. The position of the Tianlong people in the world government is beyond doubt. With the help of those few clones of the Tianlong people, Bega Punk not only obtained a large amount of funds, but also infiltrated many departments of the Navy and CP organization under his command. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Fantasy Stars and Plans. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Fantasy Stars and Plans. Alright, it seems that you are already prepared, boss. Based on time calculations, in just 2 days, the Navy and world government agents should arrive at Future Island. Don't capsize in the sewer. Glancing at Hancock and Nico Robin, Stacy said twice and was ready to cut off contact. Seeing Bega Punk already prepared, she didn't think the world government and Navy could do anything about this cunning tech genius. Wait. Bega Punk, who was still rubbing his swollen arms, suddenly spoke up. Wait a moment, I'll pass on a list. This time, after I feign death and escape, you can replace me in charge of Ambra's personnel. Ambrera is an organization secretly established by Bega Punk, which includes intelligence, espionage, technological research, and other aspects. In the past, Bega Punk personally supervised and communicated with each other through some kind of projection ring. Study was slightly stunned for a moment, but did not refuse. As a clone created by Bega Punk, her loyalty is definitely worth it, and her status is not low. She is indeed the best candidate to entrust. In addition to some clones who were loyal to Bega Punk, Ambra also had a large number of non-core members. Over the years, with the support of Bega Punk's black technology, it has long become a behemoth. Among the people trusted by Bega Punk, only Study has both intelligence and emotional intelligence, and is able to play well. Others, such as clones, although loyal, lack a bit of emotional intelligence, and ordinary people who meet the standards of intelligence and means do not have much loyalty. After passing on the list of documents and the planned goals for a period of time to study, Bega Punk cut off contact and his face gradually became serious. He stood up and looked at the almost sci-fi town outside, as well as the large number of robots walking in the steel town, sighing and saying, it seems that Future Island cannot be saved. Nicole Robin, standing behind Bega Punk, frowned slightly and said, do you need me to notify everyone to retreat? Bega Punk shook his head and spoke. No need, all the data on the Future Island has been uploaded by me to the Dream Star, and what has been destroyed is only the external mechanical body. As long as the data soul still exists, it can be rebuilt at any time. Even those few clones are actually controlled by the Dream Star's chip, and cannot be considered real-life forms. They can still be remade. And once you make advanced preparations, don't you just openly tell the Navy and world governments that you have spies with them. By the way, Robin, how did you get discovered? Bega Punk seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked. Nicole Robin has been staying here on Future Island, and even if she is trading with other powers, she will not personally show her face. It should be theoretically impossible to be discovered. I don't know either, Nicole Robin shook her head. However, boss, a lot of your research is derived from ancient literature. Maybe the world government has found some clues from it. I have already paid close attention to this aspect. I have made several changes to various technological materials used by governments around the world. Unexpectedly, something has been noticed. Bega Punk said in distress, but he was not too surprised. To be precise, the ancient technology of the pirate world is all-encompassing, and he can hardly do anything to completely erase the inspiration and knowledge gained from ancient technology. Perhaps the world government has long had the idea of shedding the burden and killing the donkey. After all, the world government is definitely the one who understands ancient history the most. They estimate that when technology develops to a certain extent, scientists will definitely pay more attention to ancient history. A hint of thought flashed through Bega Punk's mind, but there were not many surprises. In fact, he was already prepared to have a falling out with the world government, and this time period can be said to be just right. I just don't know. Will the backing I left on Future Island satisfy the world government? Everyone on the sea knows that Future Island is the stronghold of the world's strongest scientist, Bega Punk. The island is filled with various black technology weapons, and even the most powerful pirate group on the sea cannot guarantee that they can conquer this island. Compared to the original version of Bega Punk, who didn't particularly enjoy researching weapons, this enhanced version of Bega Punk almost turned the entire island into a steel fortress, with a large number of robots and clone soldiers patrolling. Many people even believe that the future technology island of Bega Punk is second only to Maria and the Navy headquarters in terms of danger and defense. However, that is just the surface layer of Bega Punk, and his true lair is not on this vast sea. As a ray of light flashed by, Bega Punk appeared in a metal room with Nicole Robin and Boya Hancock. There were transparent windows on the walls of the room, and outside the windows was a pitch-black universe. The Dream Star, whose real name is the Brain Satellite Space Station, is also the true lair of Bega Punk. It is a self-disciplined, super-large artificial satellite space station built directly in satellite orbit, the size of an island. At the same time, this is also the location of Bega Punk's severed large brain, which has been transformed into a quantum brain with far more terrifying computing power than supercomputers. The incredible computing power, coupled with the already dark technology and the addition of demon fruit ability components, makes the technology level of Phantasy Star far beyond ordinary people's imagination. The reason why it is named the Dream Star is because the brain of this space station has the components of dream fruit, which can directly expand the dream world, allowing the entire space station to freely enter and exit dreams and reality. In fact, the Dream Star does not only have such a demon fruit component. Through the manipulation and transformation of different demon fruit components, this space station has a variety of special abilities. If you really want to choose the most dangerous place in the world, then those who know the truth will definitely choose the Dream Star. Returning to his lair, Bega Punk sensed the powerful spiritual stance echoing throughout the entire interstellar space station, and suddenly felt a sense of security. Brain fruit is actually not completely without killing power. The development direction of Devil Fruit's ability mainly depends on the developer's own intentions and imagination. Bega Punk has developed some abilities such as mental power. However, after he removed his large skull, the vast majority of his mental energy remained on the Dream Star, leaving only a small portion of himself. Only when he returned to this dreamy star did Bega Punk feel even more complete. Time is almost up, Dream Star, prepare to launch the A35 plan. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Quantum Chips. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Quantum Chips. As soon as Bega Punk finished speaking, the entire dream star seemed to have come to life, and its light slowly lit up in the wall. Then, a door opened directly on the originally smooth wall. The entire dream star is controlled by the original super brain of Bega Punk, and can even be regarded as a silicon-based life form. Its interior is entirely constructed of memory metal nanoparticles, and if unauthorized individuals enter, they cannot even touch the door. Taking Nicole Robin and Hancock into the entrance, there is a science fiction-style laboratory inside the door. At the center of the laboratory is a transparent light column, and in the middle of the light column, there is a golden-haired boy who looks like he is 12 or 13 years old. His eyes are tightly closed and he is suspended in mid-air, looking as if he is sleeping. This is the body that Bega Punk prepared for himself, investing a lot of resources, with the genes of the future supernova White Horse Cavendish as the main body, and adding the advantageous parts of the genes of Charlotte Lingling, Kato, and even Cap, Kazuki Oda, Blackbeard and others, to create the strongest body. The reason for the appearance of this body, which is only 12 or 13 years old, is precisely because it has been modulated from the initial stage of development. The adult body has long been in a state of gene expression. Changing the gene chain is like replacing the bottom code in a complex program, which will only cause the program to crash. Like Hancock, who has also undergone Mino's genetic tuning, Mino can only optimize Hancock's own genes by slightly adding abilities such as a degraded version of steel skin, but it is impossible to truly modify her gene chain completely. And this physical body in front of us is truly a fusion of the strengths of many of the top experts in the ocean, making it a presence close to the ceiling of talent. The reason why it is said to be close to the ceiling is because the Cavendish gene, as the main body, although also known as a natural talent, ultimately has limited tolerance. This physical talent may not be inferior to that of Kato, Whitebeard, Cap, and others, but it also has a special physique that can withstand 2 demon fruits, but it is much worse than Charlotte Lingling's true ceiling. If Bega Punk were willing to use Charlotte Lingling as the genetic subject, he would probably create monsters beyond the ceiling of the pirate world, but unfortunately he doesn't want to become a woman yet. Others have strong talents, but they have not truly reached that incredible level. In addition, Cavendish's talent can barely be called top-notch, so in the end, Mino chose Cavendish, who has the highest appearance and the most suitable body for ordinary people. As he approached this ignorant physical body, Bega Punk extended his hand slightly, and suddenly many projections appeared in the void, which were the various transformation projects of this body. All physical indicators have stabilized, including the ability of magnetic fruit and thunder fruit, which have been implanted. The only thing left is the biological quantum chip in the brain, which has not yet fully developed and matured. Looking at the numerical value in front of him, Bega Punk murmured to himself. Is this the new generation of quantum-based biochips? Nicole Robin, standing next to Bega Punk, looked at the projected brain image with a curious expression on her face. What's the difference from a normal biochip? The biochip was created by Bega Punk, combining his scientific ideas from his past life with his own brain fruit. It was successfully manufactured as early as 10 years ago and only had ordinary auxiliary computing and memory functions at that time. With years of research and development, this type of chip has more and more functions, and its computing power has also become stronger, especially the quantum-level chip produced this time. Its computing power alone is no less than that of brain fruit. Quantum chips and normal biochips are completely different things. A regular biochip, in other words, is just an auxiliary system, equivalent to a simple combination of a computer and a memory library. Quantum chips, on the other hand, enhance the brain's ability in all aspects. In addition to memory and computing power, they also possess the abilities of multi-threaded thinking, powerful thinking acceleration, and fuzzy memory extraction modules. And as a biochip, it also possesses developmental and evolutionary abilities, which can completely guarantee that even if I transfer my body, my research ability will not decrease. Bega Punk proudly explained his invention, but this level of biochip is naturally not easy to make. Especially with the use of nanomachines and genetic programming, Bega Punk interfered with the physical brain to automatically generate a biochip instead of making it externally, making it more difficult and normal for slow development. In other words, the effect of quantum biochips is equivalent to the fruit of the brain. Nicole Robin's previously calm face finally showed a hint of surprise. She never expected that Bega Punk could even do such a thing. In fact, as an assistant to Bega Punk, Robin herself has a certain understanding of Bega Punk's research, including her own installation of ordinary biochips. It is precisely because of this understanding that she knows how quantum chips are such a groundbreaking invention. Just think of a quantum chip as equivalent to a brain fruit. If it really spreads out, wouldn't it be like the entire pirate world has countless scientists at the Bega Punk level? Even if due to natural talent, ordinary people cannot reach the level of Bega Punk, which is hundreds or even thousands of years beyond the times, 3 stinky leather craftsmen can still surpass Zhuge Liang. If it really spreads, the technology of the entire pirate world is expected to experience explosive development in an instant. Almost. Bega Punk didn't want to say much and looked at the time. In another 27 hours, the quantum biochip will fully develop and stabilize, and then the soul transfer work can be directly carried out. When I'm transferring my soul, I'll trouble you to observe, Robin. I'll hand over the control of the Dream Star to you. If there's any problem, I'll ask you to solve it. Although this type of soul transfer experiment has been conducted many times, the technology is fully mature, and there are no side effects according to subsequent observations. However, Bega Punk is not an ordinary person. As a brain fruit expert, his spiritual power is almost thousands or even tens of thousands of times that of a normal human. It is naturally much more troublesome to transfer his soul. If the transfer target is an ordinary body, Bega Punk would either choose to cut off most of his mental power and memory, or he would directly blow up the ordinary person's head, which is why he must develop a quantum biochip. And his level of soul transfer is still the first time it has begun, so he naturally needs to be cautious. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Future Island. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Future Island, that's Future Island up ahead. Still haven't we been in contact with Bega Punk? A group of masked CP organization agents were sitting in the cabin discussing. The leading agent was tall and his voice sounded like a rubbing iron plate. Without any response, could it be that Bega Punk discovered something? That's also very normal, said a spy. After all, that's Bega Punk. He's such a crazy scientist, who knows what kind of black technology inventions he might have. Let's wait for a while, join forces with the Navy, and start a strong attack. Just before the group of agents had finished discussing, with a loud bang, a terrifying water flow had already cut the entire ship in half like a high-pressure water jet. What's going on? Several agents jumped out of the cabin in embarrassment and turned their heads to see a monster on the ocean, resembling a dragon covered in golden metal, with a metal giant horn on top of its head, staring at them with a tiger-like gaze. Not good. This is Steel Sea Dragon Beast. Steel Sea Dragon Beast, Mechanical Evil Dragon Beast, and Combat Tyrannosaurus Rex are precisely the 3 strongest combat abilities created by Bega Punk. They are specifically used to guard Future Island on a daily basis. Not bad, Bega Punk, this is a blatant plagiarism of Digimon. The specific combat effectiveness is definitely not comparable to real Digimon, but dealing with a few agents is really easy. The Mechanical Evil Dragon Beast has strong firepower, powerful long-range attack, fast combat speed, and strong melee combat ability. The Steel Sea Dragon Beast is an expert in sea combat and a nemesis for demon fruit abilities. The Iron Sea Dragon Beast looked at the several agents in front of it and snorted coldly. 2 lasers burst out of its nostrils, and the 2 slightly slower agents immediately screamed and were cut into 2 pieces. Damn it. Go ahead, get rid of it. The spy leader gritted his teeth and knew very well that he and his team couldn't escape the pursuit of the Steel Sea Dragon Beast in the open sea. Only by completely defeating this guy can he have a glimmer of vitality. Several agents stepped on Moon steps and charged forward, but their resistance was almost meaningless when facing the steel sea dragon beast. With screams of agony, several corpses suddenly fell on the sea surface. Damn it, it seems that Bega Punk is really going to tear his face off us. On a naval warship, a man with a serious face, rigid lines, wearing a red suit and a naval hat looked at the intelligence in his hand, showing a hint of anger. This is Admiral Red Dog of the Navy. At this moment, a red light appeared in his eyes, and black smoke rose. The intelligence paper in his hand was directly melted into a pile of black ash by the high-temperature lava. That's normal too. Although Bega Punk may seem like just an ordinary scientist, according to our Navy's intelligence, that guy is not that honest either. It's just that we haven't found any real evidence yet, have we? The adjutant standing next to Red Dog frowned and asked, "The main question now is, do we need reinforcements, General? If we move forward further, we may have to enter the waters of the future island defense. Fighting the steel sea dragon beast on the sea is not a wise move." Red Dog remained silent, even though he was a naval general and one of the top powers of the entire sea. He dared not underestimate the invention of Bega Punk. The battle Tyrannosaurus and mechanical dragon beasts were just enough. At most, with some effort, he could still dismantle them himself. But if you encounter the steel sea dragon beast on the sea, even the Red Dog will find it very difficult to deal with. The steel sea dragon beast is equipped with a large number of sea tower stones and can directly draw seawater for industrial water knife-level attacks, which can be completely restrained against him, a magma fruit ability person. The most important thing is that the steel sea dragon beast can completely attack ships underwater. Once there is no foothold, even naval generals like Red Dog will have a dead end in facing the steel sea dragon beast on the vast sea. Biting his teeth, although Red Dog has a cold personality and doesn't care about human life, he is not a truly brainless person. Wait a while longer. Since the initial disguised island landing plan failed, let's wait for the support of the Navy. For Bega Punk, the Navy dare not underestimate it. At the beginning, the plan was to hope that Red Dog and world government agents could directly enter the future island for beheading operations. However, if the plan fails, they are also prepared for a strong attack. Therefore, in the second batch of support teams, another naval admiral, Qingji, has already been on the rise. Just like the ability to restrain each other, this frozen fruit ability is precisely the nemesis of the iron sea dragon beast. The endless sea has been frozen into an ice sheet, and in the future, smoke and gunpowder will rise on the island. Various robots and clone soldiers are engaged in fierce battles with the Navy. Pooh! Bega Punk's invention is really difficult to deal with. It seems that what he gave us in the Navy were just some defective products. A naval officer covered his injured arm and kicked the head of an underground mechanical soldier, cursing. Beside him, a curly-haired green pheasant covered the wound on his chest, panting heavily. This guy Bega Punk, the combat machine he developed, has even cracked elemental transformations. He has never reported this to the Navy. The wound on his chest was left by the battle Tyrannosaurus Rex. Although the battle Tyrannosaurus Rex had been frozen into ice by the green pheasant still felt a bit scared when he thought about the recent battle. Unexpectedly, the green pheasant, whose elemental transformation had no effect at all, almost had its belly cut open due to carelessness. However, the battle has finally come to an end. Although both naval generals were adorned with dots and their soldiers suffered heavy losses, the two were still quite satisfied with it. No one knows exactly how many new technologies there are on the future island of Bega Punk, but not to mention high-end war machines like the 3 dragon beasts, just ordinary robot soldiers. As long as they can be mass-produced, it will be a huge gain for the Navy. Let's go to the central laboratory first. Before we catch this crazy scientist, it's better to be careful. Looking at the somewhat relaxed Navy, Red Dog spoke with a serious expression on his face. His mouth was also bleeding, as it was injured by the last self-destructive attack of the mechanical dragon beast, with even a few ribs broken. Opening the door of the central laboratory, the two naval generals walking in front had serious faces and a guarded expression. However, when they reached the central room, they did not encounter any traps or enemies. Pushing open the last door, Red Dog looked at Bega Punk sitting in a chair, seemingly adjusting his instruments, and Nicole Robin standing beside him. He spoke coldly, "Bega Punk, and Nicole Robin, you have been arrested." Bega Punk slowly lifted his head and a strange smile appeared on his face. "Hee, are you arresting me?" "I'm sorry. I choose. Let's all sink into the sea together. I think now, you should go and see the outskirts of the island." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Microwave Oven and Underwater Adventure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Microwave Oven and Underwater Adventure Outside the Island. Red Dog and Qingji were momentarily stunned. At this moment, they saw Nicole Robin next to Bega Punk, smiling and pressing the remote control. The entire central laboratory suddenly became transparent, and all the navies saw that a golden energy barrier suddenly appeared on the outskirts of the island. "Bega Punk, what do you want to do?" Looking at the golden barrier outside, although these navies were not sure what Bega Punk wanted to do, they also began to feel uneasy in their hearts. The green pheasant was the first to ask, "What exactly is outside?" "Soon, you will know." Bega Punk shrugged and said. The irritable Red Dog finally couldn't bear it anymore. Regardless of the severity of the situation, it charged forward and punched Bega Punk to the ground. "Tell me, what do you want to do?" Hee. "You'll know." Blood slowly flowed out of Bega Punk's 7 orifices, and after he finished speaking, his whole body broke down. "Red Dog. You're too impulsive." Looking at the dead Bega Punk, the green pheasant's face was very ugly. However, the Red Dog immediately shook its head and said, "It wasn't me who did it. With that punch just now, I completely controlled my strength." Qingji hesitated for a moment and quickly looked up, only to see that Nicole Robin, who had just stood by, was also bleeding from her 7 holes and slowly falling to the ground. "Robin." The green pheasant let out a low shout, feeling that Robin was completely deflated under the aura of his aura. However, the green pheasant didn't have time to sigh, because at this moment the entire island began to shake. Then, the entire future island quickly descended, and the seawater instantly filled the periphery of the island, submerging its golden shield. "Not good. We're going to the bottom of the sea." The faces of all navies have changed, even Red Dog is no exception. To be honest, even if the entire future island explodes, it may be a catastrophic disaster for lower-level navies, but it is difficult to harm those naval officers who are proficient in armed color dominance. But if it sinks to the deep sea, it will be different. The ocean depth in the One Piece world far exceeds that of the normal world, and it is normal to sink tens of thousands of meters casually. However, in the tens of thousands of meters of the sea, it is estimated that except for the frozen fruit ability of the green pheasant, even the Red Dog has little hope of escape. Quickly break through the outer energy defense, I will be responsible for freezing the outer seawater. In an emergency, the green pheasant was also prepared to take action with great speed, but at this moment, a strange wave echoed throughout the island. With just a few steps, the green pheasant began to melt. What's going on? He was slightly stunned for a moment, and before he could react in person, mournful cries had already sounded around him. The navies around him all let out mournful screams, their bodies turning red and emitting faint red bloodstains, as if even their blood was boiling. The effect of the microwave generator is very good, it can't even withstand this kind of ripple even with its armed color dominance. In space, among the dreamy stars, Bega Punk looked at the electronic screen in front of him. Obviously, Bega Punk and Nicole Robin on the island of the future were just his clone doubles. On the screen, light and shadow flickered, and what appeared were scenes from the future island. Countless navies were howling in pain, and blood flowed out of their bodies like red grease. In a moment, most navies were completely suffocated. The so-called microwave generator is inspired by a movie called The 100 Changes Star, which means treating the entire future island as a large microwave oven and directly heating all the creatures inside. For plastic or steel, this microwave has little effect, but for a human body rich in moisture, this powerful microwave with internal heating ability does not matter how strong your physical defense and dominance are. Ordinary navies hardly die in a minute. The strong ones in the navy, due to their strong vitality, can resist for a while longer. However, after their own blood is heated to boiling point, they can hold on for at most a dozen or so minutes. Among everyone, only the red dog and the green pheasant are immune to microwave damage, but the elemental body of the green pheasant will continue to melt, and only the red dog can maintain mobility. However, now the entire island has fallen into the sea, and the red dog is not a green pheasant. Without the ability to freeze the sea, it is impossible for him to rescue others, and even he himself is trapped on the island. Quickly, as the entire future island continued to decline, it completely entered the deep sea area. With a loud roar, the entire island finally sank completely to the bottom of the sea. In fact, Future Island is a floating island made using the planet's magnetic field. Bega Punk only turned off the magnetic levitation device, and the entire island naturally fell into the seabed. At the same time, the outer energy shield was actually made by extracting the energy from the magnetic levitation device. After completely falling into the seabed, with waves of oscillation, the outer magnetic energy shield flickered a few times before completely collapsing, and the towering sea water immediately pressed down. The entire screen on the Dream Star flickered a few times, and finally went completely black. I don't know if Red Dog and Green Pheasant can escape, can they? If they both hang up, the Navy will probably really go crazy, Bega Punk said as he touched his chin. As for those other navies, there must be no way out. In fact, except for one or two tough guys, the other navies have already been cooked in the microwave and squeezed by the seawater, ensuring that they all turn into meat patties. Taking a long breath, Bega Punk didn't bother with the Navy anymore. After all, the future island was actually a group of cannon fodder, and the wills of those robots and clones had already been uploaded to the Dream Star. Even if their bodies were destroyed, it would take 10.5 days and a month to recreate them all. On the Dream Star, there are gene sequence chips extracted from the bodies of fruit swallowers. As long as raw materials are directly input, products can be continuously produced. As for the cost of raw materials, with the ability to swallow fruits, even if it's picking up scrap metal from the garbage dump, it can still produce a large number of robots, so of course, Bega Punk doesn't care about the loss this time. For the current Bega Punk, his real concern is not the Navy, but the soul transfer surgery he is about to undergo. The quantum biochip has fully developed, and after a series of tests, the manufactured body has no problems. Thinking of wanting to get rid of this old and fragile body, no matter how calm his personality is, Bega Punk cannot help but feel a little excited. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Sudden Accidents. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Sudden Accidents. At the innermost part of the Dream Star, there is a metal space that appears to have a diameter of over 100 meters. In the center, there is a huge light ball that flickers like a breath. Countless streams of light connect from the photosphere to the floor, and the metal floor flashes with many integrated circuit-like lights. This is the most important brain location of the Dream Star. The shimmering sphere of light was the first device in Bega Punk's brain and hands to undergo quantization. The brain, which already has powerful computing power, has become incredibly powerful after thorough quantization, and can even fully predict various factors such as ocean currents, magnetic fields, weather, and geological plate movements throughout the entire pirate planet. By relying solely on calculations, the Dream Star can use the butterfly effect to unleash various natural disasters on the pirate planet. Even if it wants to flood the entire world, it only takes 1 or 2 years of preparation time. As for wanting to destroy a specific island, it doesn't even take a day. This is still because the chain reaction caused by the butterfly effect requires enough time to ferment. And now, the weapon that is capable of destroying the world is to exhaust all computing power to ensure the success of the Bega Punk soul transfer experiment. Bega Punk and the created physical body stood on both sides of the light sphere, casting a fantastic beam of light from the sky that enveloped them. Nicole Robin stood in front of the light sphere, projecting a light screen from the void. Nicole Robin was looking at the various data in the projection. Although Nicole Robin can also be called a genius and has a scientific research tool like a biochip, even so, as a Bega Punk assistant, she is still very reluctant. Fortunately, Bega Punk has already conducted the soul transfer experiment many times with some experimental materials, so she is relatively familiar with the various data in the experiment, at least she can understand some of it. Bega Punk did not expect her to truly lead the experiment, but only asked her to urgently stop the experiment when she found something wrong. On the other side, Boya Hancock was nervously walking back and forth. Although she had no effect in this experiment, she continued to act coquettishly. In the end, for the sake of her own bones, Bega Punk also allowed her to come into this laboratory. Soul integrity is normal. The frequency band is completely consistent. The memory module is starting. The spiritual energy has been fully connected. Soul departure begins. Nicole Robin let out a long breath. Once her soul left the body, the experiment was completely irreversible. In other words, whether she stared or not was meaningless. However, as more and more of Bega Punk's soul was transmitted into a new body, a dim glow gradually brightened up in his soul. Finally, just as Bega Punk's soul was completely transferred to the new body, a strong silver light suddenly burst out. The snow covered the earth, and in the piercing cold wind, several figures were constantly chasing and fighting. At the forefront was a young man with white hair who appeared to be 14 or 15 years old. He had a cold and stern face, with a crooked forehead covering one eye. On his back was an 8 or 9-year-old girl, advancing at an unimaginable speed in the snow. Behind him were several equally fierce-looking guys wearing strange armor, constantly chasing the white-haired boy ahead and occasionally throwing hidden weapons like kuwu, but they were all blocked by the white-haired boy. Is there someone ahead? The young man, who was advancing at high speed, looked ahead and saw 3 figures faintly visible in the chilly wind. What the hell? Wearing this outfit on a snowy day. Kakashi looked at the 3 people in front of him, 2 women around 20 years old who were tall and had explosive figures. They looked like beautiful women, but their clothes a person wearing a thin chipao, revealing a pair of ivory-like pure white long legs, with a very relaxed expression, gazing at the cold wind with nothing. The other one simply wore a tropical leather jacket and shorts, looking completely like this icy and snowy land was a tropical island, but trembling a bit. As for the last boy, his face looked only 12 or 13 years old, but he was slightly taller than the current Kakashi. With golden hair and a handsome appearance, he still gave a prince-like elegant feeling in the icy and snowy world. But now the prince is also wearing a thin outfit, unlike the first woman. This young man seems to have not reached the point where the cold and heat do not invade, and is bouncing and rubbing his arms. At that moment, the woman with long hair and a chipao looked up and saw Kakashi, showing a surprised expression. Similarly, for the first time, Kakashi completely saw the woman's face and was stunned. As a ninja, Kakashi graduated from Blue Star Kindergarten. Or perhaps even before graduation. And began to go to the battlefield to chop people. He has seen many strong winds and heavy rain over the years, and although he is only 14 or 15 years old now, he still feels that he is sufficiently stable. At least, he never thought he would be stunned by a woman who was too beautiful. However, when he saw the haughty appearance of the beautiful woman in the chipao, he was truly stunned for a moment, feeling that the woman in front of him had exceeded the limits of human imagination, filled with almost magical aggression. After an instant of stagnation, Kakashi pushed his forehead as if facing a great enemy, revealing the eyes of the three Goyu Sharingan. After a moment, he confirmed that he had not been hit by any illusions, and his face suddenly turned slightly red. What a terrible woman! She can be compared to magic just by her appearance. In such a cold climate, sweat still flowed from Kakashi's forehead, indicating the feeling in his heart. However, in an instant, Kakasadon noticed the figure of a peerless beauty in the distance flash away, and then appeared in front of him. Raising his head, he asked. "Hey, white-haired guy, quickly tell me where this is." Arrogance, rudeness, looking at people through her nostrils, and not caring about others at all. Kakashi's impression flashed through her heart, but she was really too beautiful. Biting her lower lip, Kakashi regained consciousness and did not directly answer. However, at this moment, the young girl on his back, even in a state of sadness, did not carry the charm of the beautiful woman in the qipao. The young girl, with her heart lit up, spoke up and said, "Big sister, this is the Kingdom of Snow. The rebels from the Kingdom of Snow who are chasing us are snow ninja. They are not good people. You should run away quickly." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Art of Beheading in the Heart. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Art of Beheading in the Heart. Just as the girl finished speaking, the few people chasing behind them were searching and had already surrounded everyone. "Your Highness Xiaoxue, give up and don't run away anymore. Lord Nuteo is still waiting for you." The pursuer led by him spoke in a cold voice. Although his words seemed somewhat respectful, his tone was filled with a sense of solemnity. "That bastard from Fenghua Furious Waves, who killed my father, won't even let me go now." Fenghua Xiaoxue said with a hint of trembling and grief in her voice, gritting her teeth. "Our mission is just to take His Highness Xiaoxue back." Several pursuers had cold faces and no sense of movement, but they talked and talked on their own, which angered the beautiful woman in the qipao standing next to them. "There must be a limit to talking to yourself. Who the hell are you brainless guys? Answer my question." Until then, the pursuer turned their gaze to the beautiful woman in the qipao, and then their eyes froze one by one, with a wavering expression on their minds. At this moment, standing at the back, the handsome blonde boy of 12 or 13 spoke up, "All right, Hancock. You should control these people first. I think I may have some understanding of our situation." The words of the blonde boy finally brought the pursuers back to their senses, and at the same time, a guarded expression appeared in their eyes, clearly indicating that these three people were not a simple group. "Okay, sir. Don't worry, I will let out a bayou and take care of them all." Hancock turned his head and a bright smile appeared on his face. For a moment, the snow was shining brightly, and the people across from him were already mesmerized by this beautiful smile before they could even muster their anger. He was dizzy and dazed. But when Hancock turned around, his originally bright smile immediately faded away and was replaced by a proud sneer. "Let's turn my body into stone. Sweet and sweet. Not good." Kakashi, who struggled to break free from Hancock's charm, didn't know what the pink light was, but he had a faint feeling of being intoxicated. Without hesitation, he bit his tongue hard and finally regained consciousness. When he turned his head, he found that Shui Ren, who was chasing him, had been completely destroyed and had turned into stone statues. Strangely, those stone statues still had a drunken smile on their faces, as if they had seen some unparalleled beauty. With a slight shudder, Kakashi recalled what had happened earlier and immediately understood the conditions for the opponent's ability to activate. As long as one is immersed in the opponent's appearance and a little moved, will they be directly turned into stones. Unexpectedly. This beauty has really become a weapon. At the same time, Kakashi felt that her back seemed to have gained a lot of weight. The girl who was originally lying on her back also had a very soft and stiff body, and there was no need to turn back. Kakashi was also very clear that the little snow on her back had also been hit. Even women cannot be immune. Indeed, that demonic appearance and charm have exceeded the limits of gender. Is this some rare bloodline? If it is really the blood inheritance limit, Kakashi must admit that he has opened his eyes. Indeed, ninjas are completely disobedient to common sense. At least he cannot figure out whether this ability to turn people into stones belongs to illusion or what kind of ninjutsu attribute. Now Kakashi only hopes that his opponent is a standard ninja with a magical nature, and his combat power in other aspects is not strong, otherwise, oh, can you resist the charm of a concubine? Hancock whispered for a moment, but didn't hesitate much. He kicked over and with a thud, Kakashi exploded into a cloud of smoke. Obviously, he was just a shadow clone. What kind of demon fruit ability is this? Hancock was surprised for a moment and calmed down. He quickly spread out his aura, and then his face changed, revealing an extremely angry expression. Bastard, stop me now. In the snow behind him, a hand suddenly reached out and grabbed the blonde boy's ankle, then pulled down hard. Done, the art of beheading in the heart. In an instant, the entire blonde boy was caught in the soil, revealing only a bewildered head. Kakashi jumped up, holding Kowu in his hand, and leaned against the young man's neck, saying, "If you don't want him to get hurt, stop it now." Hancock stopped and a chill appeared in his eyes. "I really underestimated you. A wild dog without any sense of shame. If you dare to harm an adult's hair, I guarantee you will die extremely miserable." Kakashi shrugged nonchalantly and said, "I'm sorry, ninjas always use extreme force. It's useless to speak harshly. I think we can have a good conversation now, right?" The blonde boy who fell into the soil suddenly spoke up, "Although it's embarrassing to look like this, you wouldn't think this would catch me, would you?" Upon hearing these words, Kakashi's sense of vigilance surged in his heart. However, before he could take any action, he saw a flash of lightning on the forehead of the blonde boy, directly landing on him. At the same time, the bitterness in Kakashi's hand also broke free from his palm in an instant, turning around and directly nailing his hand to death. Aha! Kakashi trembled instantly. What he was exposed to was not some kind of thunderbolt ninjutsu, but the purest natural thunder and lightning. Even though his nerves were paralyzed, his muscles contracted, and he trembled uncontrollably. By the time he regained consciousness from the electric shock, one of his hands had already been nailed to the ground, and the flowing blood had frozen into red ice. Twisting his body, the blonde boy shook the ground with a loud roar and slowly got up. "Although this physical body is very powerful and has strong instincts, I still feel a bit uncomfortable. Indeed, I am not a genius of any combat type, and elemental transformation cannot be used anymore. Is it because I have changed to a different world?" The blonde boy is naturally the Bega Punk who has changed his body. This body has extremely high talent and comes with a swordsman-level combat instinct. Even without cultivation, his speed, strength, and defense are all above the current Kakashi. But after all, Bega Punk had never really interacted with people and had little combat experience. When he engaged in real combat, perhaps he could still rely on his body's instincts to react. When he was ambushed by Kakashi's heartfelt beheading technique, he was confused for a while and was pulled directly to the ground. Fortunately, in addition to his own physical body, Bega Punk also possesses the power of thunder fruit and magnetic fruit. Even without the power of these demonic fruits, he can rely on his powerful physical body to directly break free from the pitfalls of the beheading technique in his heart. As for Kakashi's suffering, it may be difficult to even scratch his skin. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Seeking Help. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Seeking help. When Fenghua Xiaoxue woke up, she found herself lying in a strange position in the snow. The white snow soaked her clothes and landed on her, causing her to shiver involuntarily and quickly stand up. When she stood up, she saw a dejected expression on Kakashi's face, tightly wrapped around a wire that had been found in Kakashi's own ninja bag. As for the remaining snow ninja pursuers, they are still in a stone-like state at this moment, making Feng Hua Xiaoshue's heart tremble. "You're awake, little girl." A gentle voice came, and Feng Hua Xiaoshue turned her head to see a handsome blonde young man who was only a few years older than her. "What's going on here? What are they doing?" Upon hearing the timid question from Feng Hua and Xiaoshui, Bega Punk shrugged and said, "Don't worry, it's just some minor conflicts. They can still come back. If you want, I'll let them return to their original state now." "No, no need." Feng Hua Xiaoshui shook her head suddenly, gritted her teeth, glanced at the Bega Punk trio, and pleaded, "Brother, can you help me regain the snow country with those two sisters?" It has to be said that humans are visual animals. Although Feng Hua Xiaoshue can tell from the situation at the scene that Bega Punk and his team are definitely not simple characters, their appearance and temperament far exceed that of ordinary people. It still makes Feng Hua Xiaoshue unable to feel any sense of vigilance, and even directly seeks help from the three of them. Koshi, who was tied to the side, rolled his eyes and felt that Feng Hua Xiaoshui was a bit naive. The snow country was remote and impoverished, and these guys were all truly powerful and dangerous figures. How could it be all right? When you see injustice on the road, pull out your sword and help each other. This is a chivalrous spirit that has been passed down since ancient times. Ah! Chivalrous spirit. When Kakashi saw that he was bound, he secretly rose, but wisely closed his mouth. Without hesitation, Bega Punk agreed to the request of Feng Hua Xiaoshue and inexplicably arrived here. Bega Punk was also in a confused state, and most importantly, it was not only the three of them who came here, but also the main quantum brain of Dream Star, which was Bega Punk's big brain back then. The key is that although the quantum brain has also traveled through, there is no nuclear fusion solar cell inside the Dream Star for power supply. This so-called quantum brain is just a fragile item. Now, Bega Punk wants to find a force to provide some energy to the quantum brain, so as to understand what exactly happened. How inexplicably did I travel to the world of Hokage? Nico, Robin and Hancock were also puzzled, only to know that a silver glow erupted during the final soul transfer, and then everyone arrived at this icy and snowy ghost place. Regarding this, Bega Punk had some speculations, such as how he inexplicably traveled to the world of pirates. Since it is soul-piercing, the answer is likely to be in one's own soul. It is possible that this power was stimulated during the soul transfer, which is why one crossed over again. But this is just speculation, and he cannot observe his own soul. But since soul transfer is dominated by the quantum brain, this force will definitely be observed by the quantum brain. With enough energy to activate the quantum brain, he can go and study what is going on. Snow country. This place is quite impoverished, but the level of technology here doesn't seem to be low. I remember that geothermal generator device has already been developed, right? That's great. Feng Hua Xiaoshui exclaimed excitedly, with your help, we can definitely defeat that guy from Feng Hua New Tao. The strength of Snow Ninja in the Kingdom of Snow is actually not strong, and those who come to chase after Feng Hua Xiaoshui occupy at least 1/3 of their strength. This is also the reason why Feng Hua Xiaoshui is full of confidence in the three of them. What are we waiting for? Let's go quickly. Nicole Robin, who had been very low-key, said, this damn weather is really too cold. Compared to the other two, Nicole Robin's physique is much worse. She is not immune to heat and cold, and wearing a tropical vest in this icy and snowy land, Robin is already on the verge of freezing. Okay, let's set off now. Little girl, you come and show us the way. In the palace of the capital of the snow country, the wind, flowers, and raging waves sat in the center with an abnormal blush on their faces. Below are a few sparse ministers, a palace with a bloody smell, as if recounting what had happened before. My elder brother passed away unexpectedly. Before passing away, he entrusted the snow country to me. Do you have any objections? The several ministers under the palace glanced at each other, but none of them came forward to express their opinions. It should be noted that although the snow country was remote and poor, its area was not small, with at least hundreds of thousands of residents. In this population base, the original ministers of the snow country also had 20.30 people. The reason why there are less than two-digit ministers left now is because those who have objections have already been sent by Fenghua Furious Waves to meet the previous daimyo, and Fenghua has already left. Since the remaining ministers did not meet the previous daimyo, they naturally had relatively weak bones. In fact, even if they went to meet the previous king, their bones may not be very hard, it's just that Fenghua Nu Tao doesn't follow the rules very well. Those ministers originally thought they could negotiate with Fenghua Furious Waves, but they didn't expect Fenghua Furious Waves to not understand their rules. They really regarded these people as loyal ministers of their own brothers. After all, Fenghua Nu Tao adheres to more ninja thinking, and the art of compromise like politics is not something he can play well with. Therefore, he chose a rough one-size-fits-all technique, not to mention, the effect is really good. The remaining ministers have become much more honest now. After a moment, a minister walked up and said, "As a royal family, it is truly a great honor for the snow country to be able to shoulder the responsibility of the country in such a difficult situation." As soon as the minister spoke, the remaining ministers quickly followed suit and said, "Not bad, not bad. The snow country cannot be without adults. Your Excellency is simply the savior of the snow country." A few rainbow farts came down, and the expression of Fenghua Ong Tao slightly improved. Just as he was about to say something, he heard a loud bang, and the palace gate was directly smashed open. A straight and slender jade leg first stepped in, and then the proud snake lady lifted her head and walked into the palace. "Who is the wind, flower, and furious waves? Come and suffer. Don't waste my time." Hancock spoke without hesitation. Fenghua Nu Tao should have been extremely angry and directly killed this guy who dared to violate his dignity. However, there was no sound in the hall. Fenghua Nu Tao and his ministers stared blankly at Hancock. For a moment, they were captured by Hancock's beauty and couldn't speak. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Essence of Chakra. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Essence of Chakra. Seeing the obsessed faces of a group of people, Hancock raised his eyebrows and showed a disdainful expression. "They are another bunch of rude people. Forget it, get rid of you guys quickly. Sweet and sweet." Just as the pink light covered Fenghua Nu Tao, a strange electric light flickered. Fenghua Nu Tao instantly woke up from his obsession with Hancock. When he regained his senses, he found that his ministers had already turned into stones. "Bastard! Who are you? What do you want to do?" Windflower Furious Waves was angry and anxious, mixed with a hint of fear, with a deep look of fear in their eyes. If it weren't for the special defense ability of their newly developed chakra armor, they might have just turned into stones. Ha! Surprisingly, it hasn't turned into stone. Hancock was also slightly surprised. This was the second guy he had encountered since arriving in this country who could ignore his sweet taste. Although this move is sweet, it can only be considered Hancock's starting move, but there is none among them that can truly withstand it. It seems that there are also many strong players here. I don't know if Fenghua Nu Tao actually cheated, but this time Hancock was not careless. He just opened up his dual-color dominance and his figure flashed, already appearing in front of Fenghua Nu Tao. The last time Kakashi used his shadow clone to attract attention, he escaped from the underground and attacked Bega Punk. It's enough to happen once. This time, Hancock used all his strength. The slender and beautiful legs, as white and tender as jade, were wrapped in a pitch-black armed aura. Without hesitation, he kicked the chest of Fenghua Furious Wave. Fenghua Furious Wave only felt a flower in front of him, and then the piercing sense of crisis made his hair almost stand tall. The power of Chakra's armor reached its maximum, and his hands slightly overlapped to block Hancock's jade feet. With a loud roar, the wind, flowers, and raging waves flew out directly, shattering the walls of the palace behind them. 2 arms fell limply, and bones were shattered. The chakra armor placed on the chest also turned into fragments with a clattering sound. "You're so fragile. I'm a bit wary of you, my concubine." Hancock pursed his lips and stood up again, feeling speechless. At this moment, he saw Bega Punk carrying a tightly bound Kakashi in one hand, followed by Nicole Robin and Windflower Snow, leisurely walking in. As for the guards in the palace, some have defected under the persuasion of Feng Hua and Xiao Shui, while others have been turned into stones by Hancock. It has only been less than a day since the downfall of the wind, flowers, and raging waves, and now it is the most chaotic time. Therefore, until Hancock entered the palace, he did not receive any warning. Although even if he received the warning, there would not be a second outcome. After less than 24 hours of brutal rule over the kingdom of snow by Fenghua furious waves, she was beaten to pieces by the randomly recruited trio. Fenghua Xiaoxue inherited her father's legacy and became the name of the kingdom of snow again. Of course, the Bega Punk trio, who made great contributions in reclaiming the throne of the Snow Kingdom, also became the new nobles of the Snow Kingdom, or rather, the regent of the Snow Kingdom. In the research room of Snow Country, Bega Punk looked at the instrument in his hand and touched his chin. "Is this chakra? It is extracted from 130 trillion cells in the human body of the ninja realm, and is a product of the average mixing of spiritual energy and physical energy. It's just nonsense." With a pout, Bega Punk put down the instrument in his hand. Behind him, besides Hancock and Nicole Robin, there was also a bowed snow ninja. After the downfall of Fenghua furious waves, these snow ninjas became wild dogs without a home. Coincidentally, Bega Punk wanted to study the chakra of this world, so he naturally wouldn't let these snow ninjas go. All the ninjas, including those who chased Kakashi back then, have now fallen under the name of Bega Punk. These ninjas in the Snow Country are not very strong and have a small scale. Even those who have reached the ninja level are only 2 or 3, so this small force naturally will not be as stubborn as the 5 great ninja villages. Seeing the extraordinary strength of the 3 members of Bega Punk and their control over the overall situation of the Snow Kingdom, a group of snow ninjas naturally bowed and bowed. It is normal for small forces to change their leaders, let alone this leader who seems quite strong. Sir, what's the problem?" After hearing Bega Punk's words, Shui Ren, who was standing behind him, asked in a strange voice. He was also a member of this research institute and was specifically responsible for being studied. The chakra that Bega Punk had just observed came from him. "The problem is huge." Bega Punk rubbed his brow. To be precise, chakras are indeed a mixture of spiritual and physical energy, but before that, a strand of chakras was needed as an attractor. The reason why ninjas can synthesize chakras without an attractor is because of their inherent genetic inheritance, which allows them to have a certain amount of chakras in their bodies. A strange question arises. Where did the first strand of chakra come from? Who was the first to own a chakra? Moreover, chakras possess strong aggregation, and weaker chakras are naturally inclined toward stronger chakras. At the same time, this energy that mixes spiritual power has little individuality and is easily integrated with other chakras. Not only that, chakras also have the characteristic of being interfered by higher levels and higher quality chakras. In other words, if a person's chakra quality and quantity overwhelmingly exceed the average person's by several levels, they can easily harvest other ninjas like leeks. Shui Ren stared with an unknowingly sharp expression, but in reality, Bega Punk's words were not meant for him to hear. So, is the Sodot called ninja like a leek? And chakra is the harvest, so the whole world is a nursery of some super life. Nicole Robin touched her chin and said, "So, it's better not to use chakras." "Of course not. You should have some confidence in me." Bega Punk shook his head. For him, who had already known the plot, it was clear that after thousands of years of development, the ninja world had already played Chakra to its fullest potential. Even when facing the source of Chakra, he was not completely powerless to fight back. Immortal Mode, Sealing Technique, 8 Gates of Escaping Armor, Time and Space Ninjutsu, Soul's Secret Technique. These ninjutsu are definitely not forces that can be ignored even against the Otakuni clan. In the situation where their chakra essence is far inferior to that of the Otakuni clan, the ninja world has developed the spells derived from chakra to the extreme. If given another 1,000 years, these ninjas may not really need the 6 paths immortals and 2 saviors to save the fire. End of this chapter.